everybody. This is Charles.
And hi, I'm Latia.
And we're Marriage the Third Ring. And we'll thank you guys for joining us for our marriage seminar, Crisis Management. It's going to be huge. It's going to be fun. I think everybody here is going to get a lot of information. So definitely stick with us and check it out because there's going to be a lot going on here today, okay?
Yes, and you will see us. We're monitoring the ones that registered in. Those ones are on our Zoom. And then we know we are also broadcasting it on Facebook. So we just will be monitoring both. Just a few housekeeping rules. You won't listen to us the whole time. We will bring in panelists. If you have a question, you will have a chance to ask your question. You can inbox us if you need it to be personal. You can literally inbox Marriage the Third Ring or me or Charles. If you got our number, you can text us and we can ask it anonymously. You can ask. We will monitor the Zoom question and answer chat box. We'll also monitor Facebook Live. The ones who did register will get their questions asked first. Mm-hmm. So just in lieu of time, we'll have different people on here, different years of marriage, different spectrums, even in the regular world. So they can bring different things to us. So it's going to be a fun evening. We hope you can stay on with us. You know, we'll give you some breaks throughout. We won't bore you, and we'll switch things up. So just take a few minutes to hang out with us today. We appreciate this, and we hope something blesses you.
Yes. So to kind of give a little information about ourselves, Charles and Latia, again, Marriage the Third Ring. We started Marriage the Third Ring actually kind of in a low place ourselves. We were, I guess, going through and talking about our marriage and how our marriage is actually important to God, how your marriage is important to God. That's actually how we came up with our book title. But Marriage the Third Ring was actually created because we were actually, the view we were actually given of marriage was that is God, you know, your husband and your wife, and that's the third ring. So you're all married together. She used to ask me all the time, do you love God? You know, if I'm loving God, then I have no choice but to love her as well too. So that's how we came up with the whole concept of Marriage the Third Ring.
Yes, and I guess also why we do what we do. We were young. We got married when we were 21. We were still in college. We were 21. This year marks 18 years. There's no rule book, really. I mean, you know, some people grow up with that. You know, Charles's parents were married. My mom was not. You know, my dad was, but you know, I grew up with my mom. So you might have this picture of what marriage should be, or what you've seen growing up, or how you've seen in the storybooks or on TV. And then you realize quickly, this ain't it. But so you have to learn. I think 3 years in is when I said, I don't want this, because he used to do everything. He used to write poems and run in bath water and all this wonderful good stuff. And then he got me and stopped. And so, you know, so you go through challenges. It's so easy. Divorce rate is so high because it's so easy to walk away. It's easy. You know, anything that's worth having is worth working for. So when something becomes easy to do and just walk away, then you do it, because why? You don't feel like, why put in the time? Why work for it?
Exactly.
So we wanted to let people know there is still young couples that can make it happen. Life is hard. Marriage is hard. So many outside fillers is hard. Like even during this Corona time, our pastor teaches us to guard our ear gates and our eye gates. And that's what you have to even do with marriage, because somebody else's marriage might not be like what goes on in your household. And that's one thing we want to touch on today is It might not be what we're giving you. None of us are marriage counselors. We're marriage coaches, and we can coach you through some things. We have some counselors that will be talking to you today, but none of us are professed marriage counselors. So the things we're giving you today are giving you tools to succeed in your marriage, things that you might can implement. We're going to cover finance. Somebody's going to talk about finance. What works in their house might not work in your house, but you can pull things to help.
Like she says, these are tools. These are pieces of advice that people have used themselves that'll work for them. Not every tool is good in every situation. So you have to temper that with wisdom to know what's going to work and be best for you. But listen, there's going to be tons of good information, tons of good tools and nuggets that you can use actually to better yourself and better your marriage.
Exactly. So we're be getting started, and we're going to talk to them about our little panelists today. So the first one we're going to cover today, we're going to talk to you about mental health, because it's so important to have a good, healthy marriage. And in order for your marriage to be healthy, you have to be healthy mentally. So we're going to talk about that, what it means to be healthy mentally in your marriage, and what certain things is.
Right.
Talk about communication, because how many of you know that without communication, none of this will work if you do not know how to talk to your spouse. So there's tools that you will learn on how to talk to your spouse, and how to hopefully they receive it. As you all know, we are big fans of love languages, and I feel like come love languages come in many, love languages hand on every aspect. So especially in communication, you have to know your spouse's love language to effectively communicate with them. So we'll talk about some communication. We'll also talk about how to recover after the crisis, because you will go through crisis in your marriage. It might not be to an extent of some, but trust me, if it's a crisis, it's a crisis. So certain crises are different to certain people. It could be a financial crisis. It could be a infidelity crisis. It could be a communication crisis. It could be a parenting crisis. So many different things, because you take them vows for better or for worse. And when you're taking your vows, you're in it for better or for worse. So that's a long time. So,
like with any crisis, though, not necessarily mean that just because you're watching the video today, or even one of the panelists talking, or even ourselves, means just because you're here doesn't mean that you're actually going presently through a crisis. But with any crisis, though, there needs to be a plan of action. There needs to be some sort of preparedness set up beforehand, so that when things do arise, you're actually prepared to go ahead and move forward and handle it. So even like if you're on a ship or something, you hear the alarm going off. Well, the alarm might be going off, but they've already had a plan set in place that, hey, this alarm is going off. We know what to do. We need to get into our respective places. So, to avoid further catastrophe or disaster. So at some point, like, everybody's had some kind of alarm going off in their marriage, but were you in place after that alarm went off to make sure that, hey, we're in place, we know what to do, let's get ourselves in order to handle what we need to do.
Exactly.
Take a drink of water.
So again, we have some more people coming in. I just want to remind you all that you can always ask questions. You can even send us the questions. And any other housekeeping rules? You will be muted. You will not be on camera.
So I didn't put that into the the chat box on Zoom, but I want to remind Facebook as well. The panelists are going to be the only one actually talking and on camera. The only ones that will not be on camera will be the attendees. So the attendees via Zoom or on Facebook. Okay, we got it. I just don't want to be uncomfortable, like they're in a kind of a weird spot. But again, the only people that will be on camera are going to be the panelists. If you have questions, put your questions into the chat box. Like she said, we're monitoring the chat box on Zoom and on Facebook. Got it? Okay. So the last one she did not mention as of yet was Seeking Wise Counsel. Seeking Wise Counsel is important, especially when you're in marriage. Any kind of relationship, really, to seek wise counsel. So if you're going through something, you can't tell everybody.
True.
Right. So you can't tell everybody your business. You have to be temper who you're talking to with wisdom to know who you're talking to about whatever issue is going on.
Yes.
Because if you're talking to somebody that's not married and doesn't understand how relationships work, then you're probably not going to get the advice that you're looking for. You may or may not. I don't know. But it's best, though, if you're going to be talking to somebody about something in your marriage, that it's somebody that's a married couple. Let's start there. Talking to somebody that's a married couple. Talk to somebody that has experience and knows what you're going through. So you have to be wise in who you're choosing to talk to. But I don't want to give everything away. Our panelists are going to be talking to you about that.
We're not even y'all's hosts. But that's why we do what we do. Because that's what we started talking about. It's just, and we want you to seek. We even talked about you're doing maintenance on your marriage. So please share this video, and please let someone know. We'll do some different icebreakers down the line. And at the end, you'll get the chance to ask all of our panelists your questions. So first we want to give our introductions of some of our panelists. So we got to who's coming to you all first. And I was just making sure all of our panelists was able to get in. Yeah. Sorry, you guys, they were all getting in. So we're multitasking. So our first one will be Parrish and Stephanie Jenkins. Parrish holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and a bachelor's of science in nursing. He has worked as a counselor before becoming a registered nurse. He is currently pursuing a master's degree in nursing with the goal of becoming a psychiatric nurse practitioner. Stephanie Jenkins has a master's degree in communication disorders and has worked as a speech language pathologist for more than 27 years. Parrish and Stephanie have a passion for emotional health. They believe that human beings are comprised, yeah, I said it right, of spirit, soul, and body. Within the soul is the person's mind, will, intellect, and emotions. They believe achieving a healthy soul or emotional healthiness is the key to living what the Bible calls life and more abundantly. And they so we are having them come up, and I think it's a message.
Yeah, she needed that password.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they are coming up, and as they come up, we are going to, I apologize, you guys.
You got that?
No, you have one? We don't have one. So yeah, bear with me 2 seconds. And we just want to thank all of our guests for coming on.
Yes, thank you guys. We went through this selection process. So the panelists that we have coming to you today, you guys should have seen the flyer. We have the Davis, we have the Coldclaw family, we have the Pittman family, and the Jenkins family. We selected them because we've known them for years, and they seem to be excellent, experienced people in their respective fields and areas. So this is going to be a great time. We're actually waiting for one other panelist to join in, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Sorry, it's coming.
Bear with us 1 second. So this is actually a new venture for us. I mean, we've done Facebook Lives before, but this was actually something new, clearly. And the reason why it kind of came about, I mean, everybody knows we're going through the whole COVID-19 crisis right now. And we were talking, and she was saying how some of the patients she goes to go see, like some of them may or may not like each other, but hey, you got married people in the house that may or may not like each other, and they're stuck in the house quarantined together, and they got to learn how to deal with each other during this crisis. So it's important that, you know, if they maybe have had some of these tools years back when whatever caused the crisis, whatever caused the alarm to go off in the marriage, they may or may not be in the place that they're in now, where one person may not like or even want to be around another. So it's important that, you know, again, in talking about crisis, you have the information that you need to be prepared ahead of time.
Yes. And now, so I gave the introduction to Parrish and Stephanie. As you see, they have a lot of background in mental health, and now they're actually about to come on and start, and we're going to turn it over to them.
All right. There we go.
Thank you. Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Session to them, and they're going to give you a little bit about mental health. While they're talking, if there is any questions, please use your chat box that's at the bottom, or please, you know, put it in, and we'll ask the questions for you once they get done. So they're going to give you a little bit about why it's so important to have a mental healthy marriage. Thank you. Hi. Hello.
Hey. Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Just for a few minutes, we're just going to talk briefly about the importance of mental health and how that relates to having a healthy marriage. One of the things that I want to start off with is just dispelling one of the myths that is kind of prevalent, especially in the African-American community. And sometimes we feel that if we talk about mental health or mental illness, that we're sick, that we have a problem. People are going to talk about us. But I think that it's important that we look at mental health the same way that we do it as we do with medical health. If we have a problem with our heart, we go see the cardiologist. If we have a problem with our feet, we go see the podiatrist. And those same things apply to our emotional health, and that also relates to our marriage. You know, a lot of guys are out there on the line. We're real good at taking care of the maintenance of our cars, of our homes, and those same things apply. Those same needs apply in our marriages. Just like with our homes and our cars, if we don't take care of our marriage and don't do the preventive maintenance that we should, they too, it as well, as well, will have problems down the road. And so that's just one of the things that I just wanted to start out initially before we even get into this.
Very, very good. The next thing we're going to talk about as it applies to this is right now, I heard this from one of the psychologists I was watching a webinar on. And she said, right now, with all that's going on, COVID-19, all the other things that are going on in America, this is actually a time of trauma. And so many of us, even the strongest of us, are going through what's considered to be a state of trauma. And so our mind and our bodies always react during times of trauma. We either respond or we react. And so likewise, during this time of trauma, we have to make sure that we're handling ourselves in a way that is sufficient when you're under trauma. One of the first things I feel like is important, and Pearson and I talked about this earlier today, is sometimes we have to do a self-check. So we just have to pause, stop, and just say, wait a minute, okay, I'm feeling some kind of way right now. I really need to do a little self-check to find out what's going on with me. What's going on with me? Am I anxious? Are my kids getting on my last nerve and my nerves are shot? Am I hungry? Maybe I'm tired. I haven't slept all night because I've been just thinking about everything that's going on. Am I starting to feel depressed? What's going on with me and my psyche and in my mind that's causing me to kind of begin to almost spiral out of control, for lack of a better word, or to just be really, really stressed and anxious, gnawing at your husband and everything he says gets on your last nerve. You need to kind of pull back for a second and do a self-check and kind of become self-aware of what's going on with you. Our bodies are designed to regulate. So our bodies are constantly in a constant mode of, I need to get some normalcy. I need to get a regulated state, a state where my body and my mind are all in sync. The human body is designed to do what's called self-regulate. And so when we do that self-regulation, that's that check we need to do. So then after you listen to your body, you need to give your body what it needs. So oftentimes your body just needs water. Okay, let me stop for a minute, drink a bottle of this water. Let me slow my roll and just take a few breaths. Or, maybe we need some sleep. Hey, tell your husband, listen, I got to close my eyes for just 1 hour. If you can watch the kids for me for just 1 hour. If I don't close my eyes right now, we're going to have some serious problems up in the household. You know how it gets. Or maybe we just need to turn off social media for a couple days. This week, yesterday and day before, I said, I can't do this. I can't keep watching social media. I can't keep going on Facebook. I can't keep watching what's going on the news, because I could tell it was causing me to have a reaction versus a response in my body. One of the other things too is sometimes it might just be you need to chill down, sit down for a minute. Everybody in the house, be getting ready to pray, because that's the way you can calm your soul, calm your mind. So you want to target those things that you know are going to calm your soul, calm your mind. If it means going out for a walk for a minute, you might need to do that just to kind of give your mind and your soul some breathing room to process what's going on around you, process what's going on in you. That's one of the things I think that we don't do, is we don't give ourselves time to process what we need to process to make it to the next step. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just thinking, as far as it's talking about the trauma, and when we think about all that we're watching and looking on television, we have to realize you can experience the stress of trauma even from witnessing and viewing it on television. And as a result, you will still have those same stressors that the person who is experiencing it. And all of us are experiencing. So it is, I think it behooves all of us to really minimize, and this is to reiterate what Stephanie has already said, but to really minimize the amount that we're watching on TV, because when you look at all that on TV, then you start looking at yourself and this could be me, or it may be happening to me next. And so it's really important that we minimize the amount of this trauma as it relates to this COVID-19 that we're seeing, because it'll ultimately affect our marriage.
Right. I think about the scripture. It says, as the mind thinketh, so is he. So whatever you keep pondering and thinking on, be it anxiety, be it fear, be it just feel like loss of control, that's what your body is then in turn going to do. So sometimes, okay, so we've gone through, we've checked ourselves, we've realized what we need, but sometimes the next step would be to check your spouse. Now, I don't mean check your spouse as in check your spouse, but you need to kind of take a look at, how is my spouse doing? So I know that my husband's love language, okay? So if you all are not familiar with love languages, we know there's 5 of them. There's words of affirmation, there's quality time, there's gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So the love languages are just merely saying, this is how we receive love. This is the language that you need to speak to us to make sure that we feel like we're being loved the way we were designed to be loved. Because it's all about our design and how we're made up. So I know my husband, his is quality time all
Amen.
day,
Amen.
every day, quality time. So he works, my husband is a nurse, he's a psychiatric nurse, and he works 12-hour shifts. So he only works 3 or 4 days a week. I'm a speech therapist, I'm home all summer. So when I know that my husband is getting ready to be off, I have to, in my mind, prepare myself, because my love language is not quality time. My love language all day is words of affirmation. But I have to prep myself. Okay, now my husband, he's going to want to come in here and watch TV with me. Watch this program with me. Come on, run with me here. He likes time just with him and I doing or watching or something. And so I have to prepare my mind, because that's not my love language. I have to take a look at him and say, okay, he's getting antsy. We might need to go, and we need to watch one of his favorite shoot 'em up, bang, bang, or whatever kind of movies, so that he can kind of regulate himself or be regulated. So basically, we need to provide our support and our comfort based on whatever the language is the other person speaks. Men and women ultimately want to feel heard. We want to feel respected. We want to feel cared for. And so the love languages have a lot to do with how we feel cared for and how we feel okay in our environment.
The next thing that I want to talk about is, in light of the COVID pandemic that's going on right now, and we understand that it's causing a lot of families and a lot of marriages a lot of stress. But I would like you to think, though, for a moment, that there is, in spite of the negativity, there are some silver linings if we look at it deep enough, related to this COVID-19. And I just want to share some of those with you. One of the things that COVID-19 is allowing us to do, for some of us, it's been a long time, it's allowing us to reconnect with our families. Many of us may have children, some of us have multiple children. And I was thinking on the other day that myself, I work 12-hour shifts. Sometimes I do a lot of overtime. And when you think about the average person who's working 40 hours a week, every week, not counting preparation time to and from work, nor the drive time that's involved. So when you really look at the average person on a 40-hour work week, you're really putting in 50 hours. And if you think about it, in the last 2 months, some of us have spent more time with our spouses and families in the last 2 months than we have in the 6 to 8 months prior to. And as a result of that, is causing some stresses in itself. But so going back to the benefits of COVID-19, so this time that we're having, and a lot of us have talked about how, we spend a lot of time at work and the hustle and bustle and the struggle of trying to make it happen. Some of us have part-time jobs, and some of us have private businesses that we also own. And so for the first time, we're really spending a lot of time with our families, and we have to appreciate that time. I think one of the things that God has really allowed to happen in this time is really for us to reconnect with our families. It also, and so we can reconnect with our families. It also, something else that I noticed too as a result of COVID-19, it gives us an opportunity to really save a lot of money. My family knows that Stephanie and I are really foodies, and we like to go out to fine dining and all of that. And so in the last 2 months, we've saved a considerable amount of money as a result of COVID-19. So, and for us, it can be perceived as a blessing financially. And it's given us a time, in this time with the COVID-19, it's allowing us to get better prepared, more organized, and we're just really having a lot more deeper conversation with one another. It also gives us a time to become stronger and healthier.
I think too that with this time, I would hate to go out of this time. I think I heard Tia say this in one of her other previous broadcasts, that it would be really sad to get out of all this time, I feel like that we've been given, and to be the same, if not worse, than when we started in it. To be the same old thing. So, you know, for me, I'm on, Lord, give us a snow day. Well, we don't have any school. Well, he has given us a multiplicity of time. And so I don't want to go back into my new school year, still haven't worked on my weight, still haven't gone on dates with my husband, still haven't organized things in my home, just those things that we have been begging time for. So I think that's another silver lining too, is that now is the time when you can do all those things you said I want to get done.
And I think too, in closing our little segment, you know, some of the things that we can do to help maintain our mental health in this time and maintain a healthier marriage. Some of the things we can do is work out. I mean, many of us have talked about, we want to lose weight, we got extra pounds we want to shed. And so this gives us something that we can do. And also in working out, it produces endorphins, which are those feel-good hormones that we all have. And so working out can be something that we can do. Another thing that we can also do is start eating better, reduce the amount of the sugars and the carbs that we eat. Something else I think that is very important that some of us get back to doing and some of us may not have done in a long time is to date our spouse again. Go out on the dates, and now, you know, you may not be able to go to your favorite restaurant, but you can go for a walk. You can read together. You can pray together. More devotional time. And it's also a good time in this season. We can also develop a hobby. Some of the guys may have an old car they may want to tinker with, or get out in the yard and do a garden or do something around the house. It's also a good time for us to do some of that early spring or late summer, spring cleaning or what have you. And all of those things in that activity, it keeps our minds busy. And so it takes the time of us away from focusing on the negativity of the COVID-19. It's also a good time for some of us who like to write. We can all start journaling. And so in closing, I just want us to realize, because the goal of all of this is to have a balanced life and a balanced marriage. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Parrish and Stephanie. We love you guys. And thank you for your input and your comments here.
Don't go nowhere just yet. Yeah. Don't turn your camera off on us. So we had a couple questions. Stephanie, y'all talked on some really great stuff. How certain things is a trauma. And so even after people come out of this COVID-19, this is a trauma, it's a crisis. So they're going to need these things even as they come out of it. Also, self-check. The self-check and the checking on your spouse. Those was two really important things, because you said it right. First, I'm going to check myself, because I know I might have did all this stuff today. You know, like me, I'm always out working. My husband's at home. So if I come home and I'm antsy, or
I'm at home working.
He's at home working, yes. So if I come home and I'm antsy or I'm irritated by every little thing, I know my kids, they know when I come in not to come up to me, because I need to get off my uniform first. I like to try to take off my uniform and shower, because I've been out, but they'll try to come and run. But I can't let everything get to me. But if things are bothering me, I need to check myself first. So that's an amazing thing right there. And then once I check myself and the things are still unbalanced in the marriage, okay, let me check in on my husband. Have I been fussing at him when I know he doesn't receive me fussing well?
Right.
Or have I been, what's going on with him? is something off with him, and I failed to realize it because my mind is somewhere else, because I might have been focused more on the child than my marriage. So first you do your self-check, and then you check on your spouse. And then I also heard, to me, I just heard when you said self-check, I heard self-care. Because a lot of times when we're checking on ourselves, let's take care of ourselves. So sometimes I feel so much better when my hair is done. Because if my hair is all over my head, it just throws my mood off a little bit sometimes. So, your hair done, nail salons just opened back up. My nails ain't done yet. But, when those things are done and you do a pedicure or something, even guys, go get a pedicure. Go do a hobby, because that's the self-care you need for yourself. So I felt like with that self-checking, you're also taking time out to do some self-care as well. Would you agree, Stephanie?
Absolutely, 100%.
Now, go ahead, Pearson.
See, I just want to interject one other thing too.
Okay.
And we may not have mentioned it in any detail, but there's also a benefit of being able to take time away to collect your thoughts and get your head right.
Right.
And so we have to realize sometimes we have to do that, because if we don't, especially as men, a lot of times, we may become across as aggressive. I see some of the guys on the panel, they look like they used to play football, linebackers and all that. And sometimes that stuff can, if you don't give yourself time to step away, you can say things or do things that you may regret later.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, definitely. You definitely have to take some time to get your mind together and just think, because she gets on me sometimes because they like to have family TV. I don't really watch TV, but I can sit on a computer all day long, and that's just kind of how I de-stress from everything else kind of going on, stuff with the kids, stuff at work. But you definitely need to take some time to get your mind right in order to deal with family time, because you can't deal with family the same way you deal with everybody else outside.
That's
you can't
right.
take that same attitude of this is the corporate world. You cannot use that same relationship style and structure at home. You cannot.
And then, and also, I just, that's a good one, Charles. And could y'all answer a question for me? Because as we move through, how important is even helping your spouse? So I'll put it this way. As we know that when you get married, and now this is for married couples, so you're already married. Sometimes you bring baggage, and you bring mental baggage in from the way you were raised. So how important is it, once you realize, like, how important is that to either, if the spouse notices it about the other spouse, to bring it up, or how important is it to recognize that baggage and talk about it as a couple?
So,
no, go ahead. I'll speak to you. Go ahead.
So before I got married late. I'm kind of a late bloomer, but I was 39 when I married for the first time. This is my only person I've been married to. But I made a point before to go get counseling, because I knew I was bringing some stuff into the picture.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure I was getting some stuff taken care of before I joined somebody, as one, and brought all that baggage and stuff to the marriage. So I went and I made sure to kind of talk through it with somebody, some of the challenges that I've been having. One of the things that's a blessing, I think, in our relationship is we're very open. We talk about everything openly. We don't have any, I can't believe you told your wife that. No, we talk about everything. Because I feel like it's just a good relationship when I feel comfortable enough to talk to you about everything. My husband is a psychologist. He has a bachelor's degree in psychology. So, he's always trying to psychoanalyze me. And at first it got on my nerves.
It runs in the family.
It got on my nerves, but then I had to realize, wait a minute, that's his design, that's his training. So he's kind of bringing that. And so I learned to appreciate it. So you're in response to your question, I think it's very important, if you have that line of communication open, to talk about each other's little quirks and idiosyncrasies.
I think too, Tia and Charles, there's one reality that we all have to bring, and that's that we all bring baggage. This is my second marriage, as most people know. And even if it was just my first, our life experiences allow us, we collect garbage along the way.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of that garbage we take into every relationship that we enter into. I think it's something that is very important for people to do that self-work beforehand. I think another misconception is people have is that I'm going to get married and this person is going to make me happy. And that's a lie.
Yeah.
I also agree. I believe that a good marriage enhances the person's happiness or the joy that they already have.
Right.
I also believe too that one of the awesome things about God, when we find that person that God has ordained for us, that person can be a helpmeet to us. And I think that in moving for couples to move forward, you have to get to that place where you can kind of become naked in front of each other emotionally and share those issues, because I know this to be a fact over years of work and even in my own personal life. Those things that you keep hidden, those things that you keep repressed will always surface in the most inopportune time. And so it's very important that we have that open communication with one another. And that's what gives and nurtures those lifelong marriages and relationships that many of us have witnessed.
That is good. So I want to thank y'all. You will be back later when all the panelists come back. This was very, very helpful.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
And we had a lot of positive feedback in the comment section.
Yes. So we will have you all back later with the rest of the panelists. Okay, so don't go too far.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.